You are tuning in with One-on-One with Tommie Zam. On this 6th episode, we sit down with Joe Ledoux, talking about his latest book, chapbook, and life. Let's do this. Hey, what's up, Joe?
Hey, how you doing, man?
How you doing today, bud?
Pretty good. I just got a cup of mushroom tea.
Ooh, tell me about that.
I have this theory that uh, every podcast I do, I want to be different, and I was thinking this is my third one, I think. But I was like,
Okay.
how am I going to change this up? And someone I was talking to was telling me that like senses, like gum or candy, different sensory candies or drinks, that they have a lot to do with our memory. So some people will actually eat like something sweet while they're studying, and then when they take a test, eat the same sweet thing so that they remember the answers.
Oh, okay. I have to remember that when I do my live show next month.
So what I'm thinking is that this is a tea I used to drink in the past, and I was kind of hoping that I think the last podcast I did, I just had like a coffee. So I was like, if I drink something different during every podcast I do, maybe they'll all be different.
Different answers.
Yeah, I'm trying to tap into something in my soul. So let's see how it goes.
So is this like shroom tea or is it like actual mushroom tea?
It's a special ancient tea. It's spelled Reishi, and it was known as the mushroom of immortality. And it was sort of an esoteric tea that you can now buy on Amazon. It's supposed to have a lot of health benefits.
Oh, okay. I have to look that up. I have to check it out. And might have to text me the name of it so I can like check it out and everything.
Yeah.
Well, just to let you know, this is a special episode because I'm taking the podcast to the beach. So I'm sitting out here at the beach at night with my dog Elwood, just chilling and watching people fishing.
Okay, I kind of love this. We got the mushroom tea going on, and then we got the ocean waves.
I don't know if you can hear the ocean waves in the background, dude.
I can hear them. I can hear them.
All right. I just didn't want you to know there's like some like ocean music in the background to make it like relaxing, but no, it's actual real ocean.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just figured I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go step out and do something different. Usually I just do it in the office or at the office or whatever, but this time I was like, it's a Saturday night. Let's do this podcast on the beach.
We're both changing it up, man. This is gonna be good.
This will be relaxation. Well, Joe, let's get into it, man. So tell us a little about you. Like tell us the story about yourself.
Okay. It basically, art started for me when I was growing up. I had kind of a hard life. Just really didn't have that many friends, and I was somewhat of an outsider. Mm-hmm. I used to go into high school and just I would be sweating holding the lunch tray, trying to figure out like, where the hell am I going to find a seat? And our lunch tables were really separated. There was like the jock table, there was just like every single table you could stereotype. And I just didn't feel like I would fit in with any group. So a lot of times I would just sit alone. And one of my friends came up to me and they're like, hey, I had a couple, and they're like, they were an artist and they were a painter, and they're like, I eat in the art room every day, and you can just start eating lunch in the art room. And that's really where I think my story started, because it was the first time of my life where I had been struggling a lot with finding out who I was. And I didn't have my first girlfriend until after college. So the art room, I fell in love with art because I realized it was a way that I could cope with life.
Yeah.
And around the same time I was skateboarding. I actually started skateboarding a lot earlier than that, just for the same reason of trying to, find a way to deal with not fitting in. And I got a skateboard, and I loved how even if you were sitting alone in your room, you could just, and if you had the worst street that's like, we had these like woodsy, tarred, sort of dirty roads that you could barely ride down. But the moment that I jumped on the skateboard, everything just became magic around me. And
Awesome.
it was through skateboarding and painting and sleight of hand, learning magic tricks, that I realized that also, although things sucked at the time, I was able to work alchemy and really enjoy my life, even though I was alone. And that's
Mhm.
kind of like what my message is to the world, is that art is a way for us to transform ourselves and be happy alone. And when you find that, that's what will attract other people to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely true. You know what I mean? Because because you got to think about like art, music, skateboarding. Not really surfing too much because that was such a big following. But like for art, music, and art, like skateboarding, art, and music, it has its own variety of people. You know what I mean? Either you're accepted or not accepted. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's totally cool. It's totally like something different that nobody will ever understand or get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the artists or the skaters, like when you know another artist when you meet one, right? Like it's such a
Yeah,
niche tribe.
yeah.
I don't
You
know if
know,
that's what you meant by it, but just
yeah.
like,
No, no. That's what I meant by it. It's just like, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I mean, it's just like if you're skateboarding down the street and then all of a sudden, or you're not skateboarding and you're just driving down the street or walking down the street and you hear click, 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 and you look over and you see a skateboarder. You know what I mean? And you relate with them. And the same with not artists, the same thing when you meet an artist, you're like, oh, and then you guys have that, different language that nobody ever understand what you're talking about.
yeah. It's interesting too, because now that you mentioned that, like being out on the streets, I was reading this article about how a lot of like homeless people will like wave to skateboarders when they go by. And like the theory was that because they sort of look at the reality differently, like they'll see the bottom of a staircase as a roof. So the homeless man sees that as like a little home for shelter, but the skateboarder sort of sees the rail as like a playground. But they're sort of like in this sort of different space than the common pedestrian. So they tend to like sort of be able to like acknowledge each other. And they were saying that like when a skater will skate by like someone living off the streets, that they have these interesting interactions.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think that. I mean, I'm trying to remember any homeless people wave at me. They yell at you. They yell at you, or you gotta tell them to move out of the way because they sit right in front of your spot.
Yeah, and I'm like a magnet for weird shit. Like anytime I'm out.
Oh, really? Explain something. Explain one with me.
Oh man, I don't know. It's just like I'm always with my friend Eric, and every time we're together, something happens. And it's not even that weird. It's just somebody will just end up doing something. Like one time I I mean it's probably just going to sound normal to people, but like one time I was just on the bus, and this guy was just going kind of crazy on the bus, and he just stands up and he's like, he looks to this lady and he's like, what are you reading on the book? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, can you tell us what page you're on, man? And then she's like, no. And this guy's like standing up on the whole bus ride like he's like MC or something. And he's like, can you tell us what page you're on? And she's like, no. And he's like, can you tell us what the last page you read was? And then she's like, no. And he's like, you're being phony. That's because you're being phony. And I'm just taking a bus ride, down to go see my friend, and he's just calling this person out. And honestly, the guy was an asshole. I mean, why would you do that to someone if they're scared and
Yeah.
they're just holding a book because they're self-conscious about being on the bus? But it's like everywhere I go, there's always like something theatrical happening, like Shakespeare, and like the whole world is a stage. And I just think there's just all these little weird encounters that pop into my day.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, because I mean, people ask me if I have a TV, and I basically said, nah, I don't have a TV because I believe, because I was like, when I step out my doors, it's basically my TV. Because one side I got the action, the other side, one part I got the romance, and then the other one I got this, science fiction, and then I got the drama. So I mean, you just sit there and if you watch everything or you're around things, you basically have live entertainment. That's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you know. And do you remember what kind of board did you have when you first started skateboarding?
Oh, definitely. It was Alien Workshop Abduction.
Okay.
That was the first skateboard I ever owned. Before that, I had like a 80s board when I was like 8 years old. Um,
What
and
kind do you remember?
I still have it. I still have
You,
it.
you still have that?
Yeah,
Dude.
it's in the other room. It says Veriflex on it. I don't know if that's just the trucks. I think that's the board brand. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's
got
the
a,
board brand.
it's got a picture of a guy on the bottom, and it just says Ollie, and he's like ollieing like out almost into like outer space off a ramp.
Dude, I remember that board, dude. I think I had that one, dude, back in the day. Yeah, dude. So do you think skateboarding and art and music got you where you're at in life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still growing, so it's totally who I am in the moment. And I always tell people, if you want to know what I think about art, ask me the day before I die, because I really think that it's an endless process of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was the path that I chose, and that's the path that I'm going until I die. I always tell people I'm gonna, skate until 99.
Till 99, and you're only what, 25?
I'm 37.
Oh shoot, man, 20, 37, man. Hey, 37's the new 27, right?
I like the Jedi mind trick. Mark Hamill was like, if someone asks you your age, I should have done it. I should have just told you that I was like 60. Mark Hamill's like, say that you're like 30 years older than you are, and then tell them your real age. And he's like, that's a little Jedi mind trick, and then people will, look at you as being younger. So yeah, I'm 60, but
60. All
in,
right.
in
So
truth,
go ahead.
in, in truth, I'm 37.
All
And
right.
I only study skateboarding tricks now that I can do until I'm 99. So I don't do flip tricks anymore. And the way that I skateboard is very zen. Anything that I practice is something I know I can do on a stage or on, like a flat ground piece of
Okay.
tar in a very freestyle manner. And it's only stuff that I'm positive I can do until I'm 90. And the interesting thing about it is I realized people don't think about it like that. They're always thinking about it like, what's the biggest thing I can do? And I started studying skateboarders. And before they do a trick, they will have the skateboard balanced in their hand from the tail to the nose, and they'll twirl it between their fingers. And they always do that before they do a trick. And I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, they're actually skateboarding, but with their hands. So I've been doing these twirls in my living room with my hands where I'll spin it like that, roll it on the ground to my other hand, pick it up off the floor, and then twirl it with my right hand. And
Huh.
it's sort of a form of meditainment. And you get in this flow meditative state, and it's not about being good. It's just about having fun and finding that sense of flow in something that you love. And that was when the light bulb went off for me, because I was a very aggressive skater. I mean, I've had my share of stairs. I was a very technical skater for a while. I was really into, like kickflip rewinds, like doing a kickflip and then a heel flip all in the air at once.
No, wait, hold on. Kickflip? What?
I don't
That's
know. I don't
crazy.
know if that's a
That's
technical term, but yeah, like you kick flip it and then you heel flip it. I had those tricks down, Ollie Impossible was my favorite trick. And then there was a point where I just evolved out of it in the sense that on the technical level, I could still ride one. And I realized that I had lost everything and I almost had a breakdown.
Oh shoot, what happened?
I mean, it's literally where you realize you've lost something that you loved. I didn't realize that it had got away from me. You know, I'm not Tony Hawk, I'm not Rodney Mullen, I don't have an Olympic core.
Uh-huh.
And there was a point where I realized I was going to have to start completely from zero to relearn everything. And I was trying, and I was just like falling and swearing and not having any fun. And I said, well, hold on, maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way. Maybe there's a different way to skateboard. And what I realized is that the only thing that matters is that there's a relationship between you and the board. Sort of like how Matisse, when he got older, when he couldn't paint anymore, he had students paint paper and then he cut shapes out with scissors and did collage because he still had a relationship with art even though he couldn't paint.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy to think that, you know, I mean, skateboarding to like art, you know?
Yeah, and I wrote a book called The Magic of Skateboarding, and it talks about how to make your skateboard float. So I invented a lot of magic tricks on the skateboard. I mean, I didn't invent the levitation, but I don't know anyone else in the world that rides and makes their skateboard float in the air and then jumps back on it. So it was the first time it was, I think anyway, that it was done on a skateboard. And I came up with names for different tricks, and I'm still inventing magic tricks with them today, and I'm working on a new skate video.
But hold on. So you do magic? I mean, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, but you do like actual magic on a skateboard?
Yeah. So
tell me about this. I'm curious about this. I want to see footage of this. This is awesome.
Jankum did an interview with me, and they put up myself a video of me floating the board, but it's sped up. It's like a little GIF or something. So you don't really get the quality of how it's floating with the video that they put up. But you know, there's all kinds of magic tricks. Do you know the thing where you take a pencil and you sort of extend your finger to make it look like it's floating when you hold your wrist? I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yeah, it's kind of like the magic trick that you learn in like high school. You know, I don't believe in exposing how magic is done. If somebody asks me, how did you do that? I usually say, can you keep a secret? And when they say yes, I say, I can too. So, you know, but this is a very common trick. And I'm just, for the viewers and people listening, I'm just trying to get across how I use magic and with a skateboard. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, you know, you're just grabbing your wrists and your pointer finger is just extended out, and people can't see that it's extended out because it's in the palm of your hand. That is your finger, and the rest of your fingers are holding your wrist. So if you have like a pencil, it will look, and you put it, you know, against your finger, it looks like it's floating in your hand. So what I did is I did that with a skateboard, and I would like ride up a ramp and then hold the board like that. And I'm talking about using like a little cruiser board, and it looks like it's floating in my hand, and I called it a super glue grab.
What? Dude, that's crazy. You know, when you tell me this, I'm picturing this all in my head right now. Like, dude, that's gnarly. Like, you must got some strong fingers to hold that board up, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. That's the thing.
Do you do like finger yoga or something like that, or finger like lifting weights or something like that, or?
Well, I did do kung fu for a while, and we had to do push-ups on our fingers. But I mean, as a magician, our strength is in our hands. And that was one of the things I wanted to do, was take skateboarding into the hands. I do a lot with fingerboards, where I will make a fingerboard, do a few magic tricks where it floats, it disappears, and then it will turn into a large skateboard, and then I'll jump on it. And I sort of do these back and forth kind of combinations from large to small. And I have a stack of skateboards like a pyramid in my living room that starts with a longboard and goes up to a little tiny inch-sized skateboard. And I look at all of it as skateboarding, because if a painter paints with their feet and their hands, they're still painting. So I think all of it, whether it's handboarding, fingerboarding, or footboarding, to me, that's all skateboarding with my body.
Yeah. That's pretty rad, dude. What you're saying is like things that like, we don't really. We do think of everything. We usually see longboarders. We're like, longboarders. You know what I mean? But when you put it like that, what you just said, it's actually pretty cool.
One of my goals is to live like Animal Chin. I think that a lot of skateboarders, the thing that makes you a skateboarder is that you can't stop skating. So I could see a lot of skaters giving me shit for the style that I've chosen. But again, being 37, when the beard gets gray and I'm progressing with this shit as I age, I think a lot of those guys that are giving me shit now are going to get on my side.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know why they're giving you shit? It's because they can't do what you're doing. That's all it is, man. They're just hating because they can't do what Joe's doing, man. Like I can't do that stuff. That's amazing,
Oh, there's the dog. I heard him. Is it Elwood? Is that what you said his name was?
Yeah, his name's Elwood. He's sitting in his little hole. He's watching these fishermen fish, and he wants to go hang out with the fishermen. So I'm gonna send him on. Hold on. All right, go hang out with him. All right, here he comes. He's gonna go down there and watch the fishermen. What he does is he'll go down there and watch them, and then like sometimes they'll throw fish at him, and then he'll eat the fish.
I heard what he said. Did you hear what he said? He said, if the skaters don't back Joe up, he said, I back you up, Joe.
Yep, that's what he said. He's like, Joe, I'm gonna go catch a fish real quick. I'll talk to you later. But no, back to that. That's pretty awesome, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, definitely, like, yeah, people are gonna hate on you just because of what you do. You know what I mean? And but what you're doing is you're doing it because you found what makes you happy and what you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm friends with some of the pros, and some of them back me up, like some of the fancy lag guys. Like Abe Dubin is one of my best friends. Do you know them at all?
Yeah, I know who they are.
So I'm back and forth with like Abe on the phone like every week, and he really likes what I'm doing. Because those guys approach it as an art, and honestly, I think the serious skaters, I've met Rodney Mullen once in person, and we've been back and forth a little bit with my book. But in other words, I think the really serious skaters get it. But, the person that's sort of like, all right, I'm going to do this to get laid, and they're sort of, going to get like, I don't know how to describe it, but they're the ones that are going to give me shit.
Yeah.
But the serious ones I get along with, because they realize that it's dedication and doing something you love and not being able to stop.
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead. Oh, this guy caught a fish. I'm trying to catch Elwood. So but I am listening to what you're saying. Definitely.
Let's talk about fish. One of the first magic tricks ever. The first time the word trick was ever used in history was it referred to catching a fish, because when a fish sees a hook, that's the trick, and it bites it, and that's the first magic trick ever invented.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I read that in a book called "Trickster Makes This World" by Lewis Hyde.
Huh. So does that where you mostly get a lot of your ideas for tricks and stuff like that from like reading like different books and you say you get a lot of it by studying skateboarding, right? Or studying skateboarders?
The ideas come from a lot of different places. I study with a master. You could look him up. His name is Jeff McBride. He was in Star Trek. He has a couple Guinness World Records, and he headlines in Vegas. He has a school there called the McBride Magic and Mystery School. And the biggest secrets in magic are passed down ear to ear. So I learned pretty quickly that if I really wanted to pursue the arts in a serious way, I was going to have to study with a master. And that's where a lot of the, I would say, thinking and sort of school of thought that incubates a lot of my ideas is coming from, is that sort of synergy from that school and a lot of those wise teachers. And I mean, I've had all kinds of mentors in my life. I also am friends with Ralph Bakshi, and he's passed on some things to me that Norman Rockwell taught him. So he's another master that I look at as sort of a sage on earth. I'm always looking for wizards. I look at Rodney Mullen as a wizard, and although he's hard to get a hold of and hard to study with, a lot of his talks are online. So I've listened and read everything that he has written, because I think he's really offering something to the skateboard community.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely is. I mean, he's the master. You know what I mean? He's the master of skateboarding, other than Tony Hawk. But for what you, me, and everybody else is doing in this world, street trick wise, like street skating and whatever, he invented that stuff. I mean, almost every single trick he done, he basically invented. Him and Daywan. Daywan's another guy.
Yeah.
Daywan's definitely another guy who's in that book of trick, wizards.
I remember.
I like that. I like that wizards. I like that, dude. Because what's cool about this what we're doing is like you're showing me and also the listeners a different way of thinking of skateboarding, and I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because right now we all need this. We all need something different in the skateboard world or regular world to get us away from all the chaos that's happening. You know what I mean? And it's cool to talk to you because listen to you talk. You have so much ideas and so much, knowledge that you can just talk about. You know what I mean? And it's awesome.
Well, thank you.
I mean, and I want to see this video of you, dude. Like this new video that you're gonna drop. I want to see this stuff, dude, because this is awesome, man. Like, flip, floating the board on your finger. That's pretty badass.
I remember Abe saying, I hope he doesn't mind that I'm going to say this, but Orange Man was like, I want to film a video with you where we're playing skate together, and then you just make a skateboard float. He's a genius. That guy, the way his brain thinks creatively. I mean, it's like such a good idea. I can see the little bit of like the skate, he does a trick, I do a trick, and then, I make the board float, and then he's like, he doesn't know how to make it float, and he messes it up, and then, I make the board disappear or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I thought that was such a clever idea. But not just, even if it wasn't me, if it was someone else doing it, it's just, he has such good ideas for videos.
No, I think it'd be a funny video. Try and see him do it, copy what you're doing. You know what I mean? I think. Yeah. So tell us about this book. So you just dropped a new book called Chapbook, right? Or Chap.
Oh yeah, it's called Skate Spots, and it's 2 volumes. It's a chapbook, which essentially just means it's like a poetry zine that's printed out of my house and folded and shipped in the mail. Really raw and pure, which I think fits in with the skateboard culture. I mean, people understand doing it yourself and not letting an industry filter it. So it's very pure and it's from my heart. I can read you the back of it if you want.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't have it on me right now, so I can't read it. But no, definitely. Right. I want the viewers to know what this is about.
All right, here we go. So it actually says about Skate Spots is a mini illustrated book of poetry that explores the skateboard spots of my youth. My mom and dad literally drove me around to find and revisit some of these spots. I even took trains to seek some out, and of course, some had disappeared. It was one of the most emotional art processes I have ever experienced. I drew my animated character Muhachi over actual photos of these locations to reimagine myself through these spaces with a cartoon character I have been drawing since I was a kid was surreal. I rewaxed the same curves with a crayon and in some of the drawings. Journey with Muhachi through the poem in two separate volumes, exploring Hubbardston, Worcester, Westminster, Silver Lake, and Boston.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Like, where do you? I mean, where do you come up with these materials, like this ideas and stuff? How do you
Well,
like sit at home and just like write it out and stuff, or how you come up with that?
well, I think the human imagination is the most powerful tool on the planet, and my whole life. I mean, even as a kid, I remember sitting with my sister and being like, "Let's make a vow never to grow up." So really early, I was going to hold on to my imagination and not let adults be like, it's just your imagination, it's not real. So ever since I was a kid, I realized it was valuable. And when I started studying with master teachers, they were like, cultivate your imagination, spend an hour every day just daydreaming. The more you practice, the stronger. It's like a muscle. It's no different than working out. So I'm 37. I mean, since I was a kid, I've been building it. So it's not like some miracle. That's really the recipe. If you want to have good ideas, start cultivating your imagination, start spending time with a journal, start sitting for an hour with a cup of tea, or finding a spot where you can meditate or sit out by a tree and just let your brain wander. You think about one idea, and also finishing stuff. Everything I do, I finish it. So I make a lot of bad stuff too. But when you land, that's the one you market, and that's the one you put out there. And yeah, just go with it and finish it, and let your bad ideas be out there. I think that's part of the secret too, because so many people just want it to be perfect and they never even progress because they're afraid to share their bad ideas. So sharing your bad ideas and failing is a huge part, I think, of having good ideas.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, think about it. Like all the like artists and skateboarders and musicians, they all come out with bad ideas or a bad album or bad artwork or or awful trick or something like that, but they end up getting back up and doing it again and making it better.
Right. And that's what skating teaches us more than anything, is that resilience, right? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
Mullen talks about that. He does talks actually at MIT right now about failure and resilience. And us as skaters have such I would say, how do you phrase it? I mean, a step ahead of the rest of the pack because of how we learn to skate, literally through failure. And I think that skaters, more than a lot of people, are taught that failure is the key to success.
No, it's true. I don't mean to get into the political side of things, but I mean, if you look at skateboarding, we look at everybody as one. You know what I mean? Like no matter what color you are, or what you do, or where you come from, or this and that. It's a brothers and a sisterhood thing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's just all one. We accept everybody who are skateboarders, and we look after our own skateboarders, friend or homies or whatever you want to say, and that's what's great about skateboarding is that the rest of the world can never understand is a skateboard culture. They can try to copy it and take the fashion and take the art and take the music and all that, you know what I mean? But it's not the same.
That's a really, really great point, because I had dissed the sort of get laid skaters earlier. And when I was with those guys on the street, they would high five me for anything that I did. And it is an equalizer. Like when everybody's out there on the streets, they might in a chat room or in a video give you shit. But yeah, when you're there and you're with them, it is extremely supportive and it is one. You're right about that.
Yeah. And it's crazy. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. I mean, it's cool to see like a lot of like pro skaters are starting these like, these things or, teaching kids how to skate. And, now they're doing this like their own protest, like skateboard protesting, to help the community and homeless people and stuff like that. It's a lot. Skaters are more giving back to the community than what people think of us as like dirt bags or just some bunch of losers on a wooden board.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so difficult because we undersell it, right? It's like the way that the society sees it, because it's undersold, it's unappreciated.
Yeah. It's like we just did an interview with Ron Allen, and I think the funniest thing, well, not funny, one of the funniest things, but one of the things he said is like, it's funny when a cops pulls him over or stops him from skateboarding, and he looks at his driver license, and he's like, "You're still skateboarding?" He's like, "Yeah." And so he says the cop doesn't know what he's gonna do with him. He's just like, "Okay, see you later." Because
Oh man.
he's like I think he's like 50 or something like that. And like they're not gonna arrest him because it's like he's just being active.
Hmm.
So it's just what's the point of that is just how like people view as us like, oh, you're skateboarding, that's a kid sport, you know what I mean? But it's really not, you know.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that, and it is kind of, we have sort of worked some magic where we've given ourselves permission to play as we get older, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which might be why people have a childish look on it. I don't know if I fully grasped the story. So were they really just because of his age? They wouldn't believe him that he was skateboarding.
Yeah, because they're kind of like, oh, you're still a skateboarder? Okay, you're 50. Okay, well, we're just gonna let you go. Enjoy skateboarding. You know what I mean? Like they weren't giving him like, if they busted a 13-year-old kid skateboarding, they'll like give him a ticket. They'll harass him and this and that. With him, they were just kind of like didn't know what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like that's why Wavy Gravy was like he would dress up in interesting sort of animal costumes or clown costumes. He found out that when the cops came, when he was protesting, he wouldn't get the shit kicked out of him. They sort of wouldn't take him serious. So actually, it gives you way more power. I mean, he should be breaking in everywhere to, every secret spot because, you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And then also too, do you so you have two books out, and where can people get these books at?
Yeah. So the skate spots one is something that I just print here, and I have a few copies. I can print up some more, but it's kind of one of those things where I don't know how long it's going to be available, um, because I want to go on to something new. But I guess if somebody emails me at it's Joe Ledoux magic at gmail.com. And you can go to joeledoux.com. The last name is Ledous, like X-ray. Joe
Oh,
Ledoux. JoeLedoux.com is where I'd recommend going because you can buy my Magic of Skateboarding book there, and then my email's there. So if you email me, you could get a hold of me, and I could send you the Skate Spots chapbook, which is $6 for both volumes.
that's not bad. That's a good deal, dude. That's definitely a good deal. And the I didn't get the was the first one the magic trick one? Is that the first
Yeah,
one?
it's the magic of skateboarding. If you go to the website and just click shop, you'll see it right there.
Okay, okay. Tell us a little bit about that book, so that way the viewers know a little more.
So that one was really to look at the history of the surfers, the Polynesian chiefs, and how all of the things they did, like the trees that they would carve the board from, and then the prayers that they would say to conjure the perfect waves, and how the best surfers were the highest chiefs in the tribe. So they were sort of like these shamans. And that evolved into skateboarding because the surfboard is what evolved into the skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at these symbols of, or these metaphors and symbols of the chief's power that they were demonstrating through their skills on the surfboard, and how some of the biggest skateboarders do the same thing. Like Christian Hosoi, when he goes into the air off a half pipe, he takes this Christ air position going up into the heaven. And if you know anything about his life,
Yeah.
he did sort of walk that path. Now, I'm a pretty open-minded spiritual person. If someone asked me what my religion is, I would just tell them I'm spiritual, but I respect all different religions. And
Yeah.
even somebody like Jamie Thomas, he sort of did the leap of faith. And if you look at it, he's like the fool in a tarot card. And that fool character number 0, and that's the name of his company. And he sort of leaps off this cliff and does this kind of miracle. Um,
Leap of faith.
well, with the right skill set. I'm not recommending that anybody.
Don't jump off a 6-story building, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the guy's a pro. I mean, I
Yeah.
only worked up, like 7 or 8 stairs. I never could do, that many. So I'm not like preaching that people take these ideas and do something dangerous. But
Yeah.
there are kind of historic figures. Even Tony Hawk, he's like a hawk in the air. And who else? I talk about Mike.
Caballero. There's Caballero.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't talk about him in the book, but I actually met him once at the Warped Tour. He's a
Super
cool guy.
nice guy. Super nice guy.
Yeah. And Mike V, just how he did this trick in the Brooklyn Banks where he basically like ollie through like a steel knob and like broke it.
Oh, okay. I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
But it was like, I look at the different magic effects like levitation and how Hosoi and Hawk are sort of levitating. And then I look at like penetrations in magic and how Mike V is penetrating these sort of obstacles, and he's sort of this plant-like force that is about a street plant. It's about finding its way through the cracks of the tar, and he's breaking through tar. So I look at the different skateboarders and how they're like these chiefs right now and sort of these shamanic figures. And then each subject matter, whether it's disappearance, levitation, penetration, transformation, I then teach a magic effect. So I teach how to make your skateboard float, or I teach how to make your skateboard disappear, or I teach how to penetrate through something. And so it's a real deep look at the history of magic, the history of surfing, and then how that evolved into skateboarding and how skateboarders are doing sleight of feet. And everything that a skateboarder does is magic in a way.
That's pretty awesome, though. Yeah, I have to get that book. That sounds like a good, very interesting book to read. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, that's pretty cool to like. That's just amazing. What your mind's just amazing. You know what I mean? Just to think, like, listen to you. The way you're think of skateboarding is pretty awesome. Think of it as a spiritual way of just a spiritual way. You know what I mean? Like, just every single trick that you say or talk or what they do or this and that is just, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it blown my mind away just because this is stuff that I never thought of.
Thanks. I think that the intention is really, I look into my heart, and that's really what drives me. And I think I kind of had a realization when I started studying magic. When I first started doing magic, I sort of just wanted to blow people away. And the more that I studied it, I realized I wanted to pull in and connect. And I didn't just want to do something that would fry somebody's brain. And I think I thought about skateboarding the same way. It was sort of like, look at this 360 flip, or look at this like trick I did. And it's the same thing when you juggle. It's like, you do 5 balls, can you do 7? And when I realized, like, hold on a second, the way that the Zen masters and different teachers I study with is the student or the artist that can get the biggest reaction doing the least is the winner.
Uh-huh.
So I threw all my juggling equipment away, and I just have one crystal ball, and I learned contact juggling. And I started learning how to tell stories. And I have a couple different juggling balls that look like planets. And I'm sort of working on this mysterious script about the universe and the magician and the the balls juggle an infinity pattern in the air, which is what's above the magician card and the tarot card. There's an infinity symbol above his head. So I started to realize that, and I think this is just from studying with Jeff McBride. There's a lot of different ways to think about art, and I'm getting a little bit of fuzz. I don't know if I'm coming through clear, right?
Yeah, you're coming clear. Yeah, you definitely are.
Okay, I'm just picking up some static. But what I was trying to say is that there's sort of these archetypes that we learn in magic. It's the trickster, the sorcerer, the oracle, and the sage. And a lot of skateboarders, I think, only think like a trickster. They just want to do tricks. And the other levels, like the sorcerer, is sort of about taking the tricks, and for skateboarding, it would be doing skateboard demos where you start to become disciplined and you start to get a polished routine and you start to take it out into the public, not just the people on the streets and performing for them. And you sort of gain wisdom, and it's sort of a demonstration of your skill. And then after that, there's the oracle, where it's no longer about you. And I don't know many skateboarders that have ever taken it to that level. Rodney Mullen definitely has. And with magic, it's sort of like, okay, instead of the magic being about me, I'm going to read your fortune. I'm going to use these tarot cards. And now the magic is not about me and what I can do, and it's about you. So you realize, and that would be the abstract artist, instead of just being a realist kind of trickster, you'd be going into the surrealism and the dreamlike imagery. And, you might be painting things for other people about their life, or about things that you've seen in mystical trances from unknown sources. And, it's not just like, look at this still life that I painted really perfectly. So, and the last step in magic is the sage, and the goal is to create a student better than yourself. You want to pass on the wisdom so that the art form keeps growing and keeps living. And when I realized that there was all those different frameworks of thinking, and not one is better than the other. I mean, if somebody is a trickster their whole life, that doesn't mean that the sage is a better person. It's not a judgment. It just shows you that there's a different way and a whole new approach to thinking about it. I mean, Tony Hawk is a total sage. I mean, all he does is have apprentices like Jimmy Wilkins, and people that study and go to his ramps, and he passes all his wisdom on and is trying to create students that will pass on, and make better skateboarders and progress the art.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. I just lost you there a quick second.
I don't know if that rant was like, okay, we're back at school, but that's really why I'm thinking about it like that, because there's one level to think about it, but then there's a whole nother level to think about it as a magician. And that's another good thing to pass on to anyone listening. I mean, if you start to blend your passions, you're going to start to become a more authentic skater, because your passions are going to be different than somebody else. And my passions are skateboarding, art, and magic. So that's why I blend that into my skateboarding. If somebody were a soccer player and they love skateboarding and they started blending the two, like somebody like Matthew Barney, who loved football, and when he retired from football, he was depressed. So he got bungee cords that had to pull on himself in the studio to get to a painting to where he could paint on his canvas. So he found a way to add this athletic quality into his painting. And, if somebody loves soccer, they could do tricks on soccer balls. And I think that that's really, if you want to think different, start thinking about yourself and what you love, and start blending those traits together.
No, I definitely agree. You know what I mean? Like you just gotta. It's amazing. You know what I mean? Like I'm just speechless, because what you're saying is, it's just like, I'm just like, what I'm doing right now is like listening to you and looking out in the ocean, and and you're talking talking knowledge to me, and I'm just like, just speechless.
Is it a full moon?
It is a full moon.
Is it really?
I think so. I can't really tell. it's clouds and it looks like a full moon, you know what I mean? But I'm just telling you what I'm doing, you know what I mean? I'm just sitting here and listening to you, and like, you know, you're speaking true knowledge to me, and I'm just daydreaming, listening to the ocean, and it's just like, wow, dude, this guy's right, dude. Like, he's so right.
Well, I mean, it didn't come out of like, some sort of light bulb in the head thing. I mean, other people said it. Rodney Mullen talked about how if you really wanted to find your way in skateboarding, it's not about how great you are. Because he said there's all these talented skaters and they can't get sponsored because it doesn't matter if you can do like a double 360 flip down 20 stairs. And he said what matters is that you individualize who you are through the board.
Uh-huh.
And when I heard him say that, I was like, how did I never think about blending my love of magic into my skating? Because when he said that, I realized that was really who I am, and that was a way that I could individualize myself through my skating. And it was literally his words. So sometimes I feel like people just give people the answers and we just don't want to do it because we didn't hear it ourselves. And I think so much good advice is out there. And there's not a formula. Like if someone says something, you can just do it and it's going to work. But if you try things out, you'll find out things work and some don't. And I tend to try a lot of things out that people say who I respect and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. No, you definitely, you know what I mean? Like what you're saying is on point. You know what I mean? Like the listeners, you know, while they're driving in the car or whatever they're doing, you know, it's good because hopefully you get to their inside their, not their brain, but inside their thinking, their mind, and just make them think like, wow, you know, I can do this. He's right. You know what I mean? Like he's so right about everything he's saying, you know? So, I mean, you definitely have a lot of not good knowledge, you know?
Thanks. And if there's anything I could give people, the thing that I would want them to take away is that it is something that you can do as you get older. I think the things like twirling it in your hands or the fingerboard, there's ways that if, let's just say that you injured your leg and someone said you're done, there are things that you can do in the hands. And there are things you can do even sitting on the board, even a coffin. I mean, I was laying on the skateboard in my living room, pushing myself from one end of the room to the other with music playing, and it was definitely a fun feeling. So one of the things Eugene Berger taught me is there's good magic at every skill level. And I believe that's true of art. Like if someone said, I have no talent, I can't draw. Even if you trace, you could produce just as good work as Rembrandt. I don't think that the way that you do something lessens the quality of what it is. If you have a good message of something from your heart and you trace it, that's just as valid as someone, painting from their imagination, and maybe more so if there's something you want to say out of it. And I think that skateboarding, there are tricks that someone with no experience ever on a skateboard can do, like a coffin, that is extremely empowering. Somebody can just lay on a board and it's a symbol of a death and resurrection. I mean, you lay on the skateboard, you put your hands in folding position and act like you're dead. And then you go on a journey and you move and then you stand up and you're alive again. I mean, that's a beautiful story. And you could even have a poetic narration over it or something. And there's someone that's never skateboarded in their life producing a great skate video. It's the same thing with music. If someone's like, okay, I want to open for a band. Well, but I don't think I'm good enough. They could do it tomorrow with no practice. You just get them one of those rawhide shaman drums. You give them a mask, and then let's say it's like a famous band, like, I don't know, Bob Dylan. So you're opening for Bob Dylan. You put the mask on and you walk out on the stage. Everyone's going to cheer because they think you're Bob Dylan. The lights go on and they're like, oh my God, Dylan's on stage. So you've already got their attention. Then you just start drumming this rawhide drum. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone is going to be watching in a trance. And then you take the mask off and, you hit it for like, you only want to do it for like 30 seconds or a minute. And then you take your applause and get a standing ovation or just a very loud applause and then walk off and Dylan comes out. So what you realize is that the quality doesn't come from the skill. There's really good, powerful art at every skill level. So if you look at skateboard tricks that are very simple, you can start skateboarding again, and you can look at it more as a way of life instead of something like, oh God, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. It's another good theory, or not good theory, but another good knowledge thing. What you just said. I mean, because it's definitely true. Because I mean, if you a lot of people are like, oh, I can't skateboard. Yes, you can. Just put your mind to it and just and have fun with it. And once you learn the basics of a skateboard, like you say, do the coffin ride, do tic tacs, or you know what I mean. You're teaching yourself how to do things. Same with art. You know what I mean. Like whenever I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but I'll doodle. I'll draw my little faces and this and that. My hands might be like one bigger than the other one, but it's still art. You know what I mean? And my
Yeah.
music, woo! You don't want to hear my songs. Me sing. I do the
Oh,
mumble.
you
But
sound.
no, but what you're saying is definitely 100% true. You know what I mean? People just gotta stop saying I can't and start saying I can, and believing they can, because anybody can do anything in the world. You know what I mean? You can do anything you want as long as you put yourself, as long as you think that you can do it. You know what I mean? As long as you push yourself to do it. But that's the problem. Is a lot of people they're in that, they're afraid. They're afraid to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. And I mean, you would have to be out of your comfort zone probably to do some of the stuff that I'm talking about in skate
Oh
park.
yeah, especially Bob Dylan, dude. I wouldn't know what I'd be like. Damn. All right, Bob Dylan, I can play. Oh man. Okay, let's do it.
I just mean it
No, I know what you
like
meant.
theoretically anybody could open like for a band with like the simple tools. And I'm not saying that they should start like that. Like you definitely, well, those are good ways to empower people up to start, and then it's a stepping stone process. But if somebody's grown out of their love of doing something and already had established the basics, there
Uh-huh.
are very simple basics they might not thinking about to get back into it, to sort of find that relationship again, which I think creates a lot of value. I've been thinking about it artistically like that. I hope that people would find value in what I'm saying.
No, and I think they will. I think people will, and I think you will, you know, hit those people too in the heart where they're like, damn, dude, he's right. You know what I mean? I can do this. I can do that.
I think of a baseball player like they don't have another option and they just retire and usually go to announcing, and you see a lot of skateboarders do that. But if people start to show people that there's another direction, and what I mean by that is like you could just take a baseball and balance it on a bat. Like if there's Zen like practices that you can do until you're 90, it doesn't become just a sport. It becomes something artistic. And what that does is it gives you a way to be with those things your whole life and thinking, instead of thinking that it's over.
Yeah. No, definitely agree with you. And then one last question I thought of while you're talking is what makes us a skateboarder? You know what I mean? What makes a person a real skateboarder? Like what I mean by, let's say, example, someone was like 12 years old and all of a sudden quit skateboarding because they couldn't learn how to ollie or kickflip, and then all of a sudden they go become 40, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I love skateboarding. I'm a skateboarder. Or you got somebody who's been skateboarding since they've been 8 till they're 40. You know what I mean? Like what, in your idea, what, or not idea, but in your mind or your thoughts, what makes a real skateboarder?
I think it's really just doing it till the end. A lot of the people that I meet that are serious and dedicated, there's a sense of passion and a love, and it's not up to me, it's up to them. Anyone that calls himself a skateboarder, I think, is a skateboarder. Some people might be more serious than others. There's a lot of great skaters that don't take it seriously, but I would say that really the thing that's driving them inside them, that they have to keep doing it or finding a way to evolve and continue, even if they keep it private. Because I think if you really do any art form, you do it until the end. It's not like I only do this for, because if you do it for 10 years or, till you're 14 or something, it might be a stage of your life. And, but when you're 40 or 50 and you haven't been doing it all that time, would they still call themselves a skateboarder? I think they would sort of say, I used to skateboard. But when you have that vision of like, this is something that is going to be part of my life until the end, to me, that's really what being something is when it's part of you and it's not away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on that too. It was just something I thought of. You know what I mean? Because I see, like, well, the reason I say that because I see people, like, people talk to me like, oh, I used to skateboard when I was 12 years old and I stopped doing it, and then I got caught up in life, and then and then I see like it's cool now to do it, so I'm gonna get back into it, and I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
It's like, cool. Well, then why'd you quit? And then all of a sudden, now you want to get back into it because you're cool, or your son wants to get back into it, and you want to be a skate dad. So you know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's kind of like, that's rad, but also at the same time, it's like, I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean the motivation, right? Like what's driving them? Is it a trend or is it their heart? And I think that's really it. Is really having the authentic drive at a heart level. There is a lot of people in magic that lose track of it and later in their 30s or 40s rekindle their love and get back into it. And I would imagine that happens with some skaters too. Like I do believe that you could quit at 10, 15 and start again at 60 and be a skater. I think if there's a gap, that doesn't mean that it's less than, but I think the point you're bringing, the motive, like if all of a sudden something's hot and you just want to get in on the next thing, I think that's kind of a dangerous way to live. There is like something I sort of learned when I found out that I was doing cheesy things that I loved. I always knew I was on track. Like right now, I got really into emo music again, and I used to love listening to that kind of like Weezer and not the like goth side of emo, but the more like indie Weezer sort of bands that were kind of off the punk scene. There's another side of like emo music that's more like sweaters and ties, like you got at a church and you're jumping on your skateboard. It was that kind of approach to it. And there was a lot of bands that sort of marketed that style. But I was really, really embarrassed to let people know some of the bands that I was listening to. And I'm going to have an emo song in my new skate video. And the emo band, I'm not going to mention the name of it yet. I reached out to them and they're like, yeah, you can use that song for your video. And I think it's the same thing with the fingerboards. When I started using the fingerboards, I was really embarrassed because I thought people would look down on fingerboards, but I really, really felt a general gut reaction that I would enjoy this for the sleight of hand and the scale of it. So I think when you're approaching things that are not cool because you really, really like them, that they become even more cool. But if you do it for the opposite reason, where you're like, that's cool, I want to do that, I think it only looks lame.
Yeah. So I'm ready to see this video when it drops. You still there?
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, it's like now there's all this hype and stuff, but it's that's the thing. It's like I'll just make another one after, and I will believe in it. It's really about a lot about what I talk to. It's about losing skating and finding it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing a good job, man. Like, I mean, I love the book. I read it. I read it like 4 or 5 times. On my road trip. On my road trip and everything, and and like I was really excited to do a podcast with you because I wanted to hear your knowledge and speak and listen to what you got to say and stuff, because I mean you say a lot of good stuff, you know, especially that book, especially the little book you made. That was definitely pretty good, dude. Like I'm hyped on what you're doing.
Thank you, Tommie. That's really nice of you, and I appreciate you, having me on the podcast, and just even reading it. So a lot of stuff I send to my friends, and I haven't read it yet. So.
Oh really?
They,
Oh damn! I'm calling them out now. I'm calling them out now, dude. Hey, Joe's friends, you better read this thing, dude. You're missing out, man. Come on, dude, get on it.
Your friends and your family are always the hardest to get to do anything.
There's always a stranger, the one that always reads it. Well, cool. And one last thing. Do you have anything you want to say to the viewers, your friends, or anybody that you want to say? You always want to say something to somebody?
I would say thank you to Abe Dubin just for as much as he's helped me in the skateboard community, and thank you to you and the for having me on the podcast, and just anyone that's listening. If you enjoyed it, reach out to me and tell me, so that next time someone asks me to come on a podcast, I'll say yes instead of no.
Oh yeah, dude, that's sick, dude. Well, thanks, dude, and hey, man, and thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hey, I wish you the best of luck, and anything you're doing, man, and you have my support, you have TSN Media support, anything you need us to help promote on your RN, we got you, dude.
Thanks, man. That's awesome.
And I'll be looking forward for that video too, man. I'm ready to see this video of yours. I want to see some crazy magic tricks on skateboard and stuff.
When you hear the song, are you going to turn it off?
Nah, I'm gonna turn it up, dude. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have it on my Bluetooth speaker, and I'm gonna blast it. And then I'll send you I'll send you a video of me blasting it, and then you'll be like, okay, he was right.
All these skateboarders are gonna fall in love with this band now.
Oh, hey, if they're good, I'm gonna have to hit you up, try to get them on the live show.
Oh man, that would be sick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, cool. Well, is there anything these guys need to look forward for other than your video, or is there something new coming out anytime?
I always have new stuff coming out. And at the end of this month in Vanish magazine, it's a magic magazine, I have an article coming out on how to visualize a hypercube, which is supposed to be impossible.
What? Dude, you gotta send me the link to this. Is this going to be online, or is this going to be...
You can buy it in print, and it's online. It's a pretty big magazine in the magic community. I don't know if it's right, though. So, there's a lot of room for failure. I believe in it, but it is a scientific theory, and I'm not sure if anyone's thought of it before, but I'm excited about putting it out there to see what kind of reaction comes from it.
Oh, yeah, dude. And, dude, you're killing it, man. And I'm so stoked on you, dude, and everything you're doing. And thank you for the knowledge, and put me in a zone while watching the horizon and heat lightning and waves and stuff. You made me think a lot now.
Just be careful, because I think Elwood's got a mermaid.
Nah, he's eating a fish right now. He's eating someone dropped the bait, so he's eating the bait right now. So I'm like, dude. And it's funny because the whole time we're doing an interview, I gotta chase after him because he's chasing these fishermen up and down the beach, and that's why you see me sometimes I might go out and I'm like, you still there? Just because I'm trying to get him away from those guys so they can fish, So I hear pause. I'm like, wait, are you still there?
I think you should give Elwood the last word. Get a good bark of him and let that fade out on the podcast. But obviously, it's your editing. But
yeah, I say that he's too focused right now. He's trying to find this fish. He's eating this fish, so I think he's in the water looking for it right now. So I don't know. It's Elwood, dude. He does his own thing, dude. I don't know what he does half of the time.
That sounds fishy.
He's a gypsy dog like me, man. Well, he's a gypsy dog, so he does whatever he wants to do. All right, brother. Well, look, man, thank you so much. And viewers, check out Joe. Hit Joe. Joe, what's your email address for them to get that book?
Joe Ledoux magic @gmail.com.
And then do you have an Instagram, anything social media that these people can
Oh,
follow you on?
yeah. The Instagram is at Joe Ledoux Magic.
All right. And so, guys, check them out, man. You have to grab that book, dude. It's such a good book, man. You definitely do. And coming up in August, we're gonna have a TSM live show, season 3, episode 6, I think it is 5. I don't remember, but that's gonna be dropping sometime in August. But Joe, dude, thank you so much for being on the show. And dude, you're an amazing guy, dude.
Happy sleight of feet, everybody.
Hell yeah, Tommie. Have a good one, brother. Thank you.
All right, later.